Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I have a special guest today on this Friday morning. Cryptomommi in the house. You may be familiar with her X account, sharing all sorts of knowledge and trading advice, or maybe not financial advice, but trading knowledge that's out there. Who is Cryptomommi? Who are you?
Well, first of all, thanks, Damien, for having me on. Appreciate it. I think you're a new parent.
Thank you.
You actually look pretty. You're fitting the dad role well. You got the donut shirt on. You're looking somewhat rested, but kind of not rested. So you're good. Like I'm sure your baby's doing well, and you're integrating well into being a dad.
Thank you. Try not to do the dad bod as much, but yeah, the shirt with the donut on it is not helping at all. But totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so well, my name is. I came by the name of Cryptomommi because I actually have 4 children. And it's actually nowadays 4 kids is actually a lot of kids. What's interesting is that last night, I'm a little tired, so I apologize if I ramble. It's only because I was up till 2:30 in the morning trying to hand mend a gymnastics costume that I totally messed up. So I messed it up first, and then I kind of had to unglue all the rhinestones and redo the stitching. And it was intense. And my kids are, they're all into their own kind of activities and sports. And so it's running around and just doing the mom thing, That's
I get it. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, just with that amount of heads and stuff. I mean, A, credit for you for going through all that. And B, just like carrying on top of what you do and the kids. I mean, it's no walk in the park. After now having a newborn and everything, I'm like, oh my God, it's a wild ride, but it's amazing now. But yeah.
It is. And, I think what's interesting is that, one of the real reasons why I'm in the kind of crypto space, Web3 space, trading space is I fell upon it in a way of being a mom. So for example, it's like when I met he was a volunteer. He actually built these safe spaces that were in a second world, third world country, I would say emerging, kind of economy. And what ended up happening is he wanted to know how to pay people that were building these safe spaces, like from gangs, to pay them without money. And the reason why he wanted to pay them without money is because the motorbike gangs would just come by, flash a gun real quick, steal all the money after the payday, because payday is pretty consistent, right? We all know when we paid. So they would go to the bank, because other countries, they don't always use credit cards, things like that. So they would go to the bank, they would get their money, they would leave the bank, the motorbike gang would come by and just take all the money. And so he's like, is there any way you can pay people without using money or a bank? And I'm like, I'm like just a stay-at-home mom, right? And he's like, yeah, but that also means you have time on your hands. And I'm like, no. You have no concept of what we do. Like a true crypto person, right? It's like we think we have way more time than we do because we stay up all hours of the night, going down the rabbit holes. So then I said, okay, let me go back and try to figure this out for you, because I really did believe in this cause. And then what ended up happening is I discovered you can make payments in crypto. I'm like, PayPal was accepting, crypto at the time. This wasn't too long ago. This was only like 3 years ago. So there were all these different apps that started using crypto as payments, like, Cash App was, you even had like Dash being used as kind of a emergency currency in some Latin American countries. And so I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm like, this is how you do it. And then as I started researching even more, what I realized is that it was such a beautiful thing to be able to transfer anything of value with a certain amount of, well, now back then it was totally anonymous, right? We didn't have KYC, AML. And so you could do it anonymously. You could do it instantaneously. You didn't have to wait for wire transfers, huge bank fees. Like it was instantaneously settled. And you could check it publicly, like anyone could check it if you had your wallet address. And I just love the idea of being so transparent, but so anonymous at the same time. It was like such a freeing kind of thing. you know, and the reason why it was so freeing is that, you know, just imagine all these people trying to conduct business. And then I started reading articles like, you know, farmers in actually African nations, they were actually using USDT to transfer funds to each other for like buying used farm equipment and, you know, different kinds of small goods and services. And the reason why is that the bank sometimes would be 80 miles away. It would take you all day to go to the bank to make one little deposit. Well, losing a whole day work in certain countries is like a really, really big deal. And so because you're kind of cutting down those inhibitors of productivity, you're just increasing the ability for people to be able to earn from themselves, to be able to conduct business for themselves independently of any institution. And I loved that because I always was kind of more of a renegade. I always went against the grain. I never was totally believed in, you know, kind of like, a lot of your audience is not old enough to remember, but like Lehman Brothers, big bank, you know.
2008, yeah. Subprime mortgage loans, yeah.
And it was like, and then it kind of, I was the generation coming right after, so it kind of really messed us all up for housing. Like I always say, the people my age kind of missed the sweet spot because it was like no longer kind of like now, right? No longer super cheap mortgages and no longer ability, but everyone had gotten in. And so like you had, and then huge layoffs. So you had this whole kind of lost generation of people that were disillusioned with the financial system. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. And crypto is just a really good conduit for people to be able to kind of express those ideas and build on top of those ideals, versus the technology wasn't there for people like me to be able to kind of take those ideals and those things that they believe in, you know, to the next level.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's such a journey just to even think about like the way of how like financial institutions weren't, or I guess are so archaic in way how they send money on over. Now it's more free, it's more control of the actual end user. You're able to kind of have that control back to them and a little bit more flexibility. Just like you said, in some of those parts of the world where there may not be banks nearby or credit cards accessibly ready, this is another avenue for them to kind of deep dive into, to have that kind of freedom and stuff.
Yeah, you know, there's an interesting, I don't shill other people's projects, but there's this interesting documentary, and it was about like this earthquake that happened in Nepal during a mountain climb, right? And all these people survived, but a whole village was razed, like at the base camp. And what happened is I was watching the documentary, and of course I always have my crypto Web3 mind on. What ended up happening is there was this huge, so first of all, they're without power, without electricity, they're without food, without water. Everyone goes to this village that was razed, and they start picking through the pieces of the rubble. And what ended up happening is somebody, one of the mountain climbers found like, and it's a huge controversy that was famous at the time. They actually found this storage box, and it had somebody's life savings in it. And it was just rolls and rolls and rolls of money. And because they had that, sorry, my little thing goes off there, is what happened is now the villagers disagreed that the guy actually stole the money. And there were actually, well, and the guy actually couldn't produce all the money. It was a very like back and forth. And mind you, no police, no food, no water, no electricity. I mean, there was like rock throwing, there was fight, it was crazy. And so that all, you know, what's interesting is I was like, that person lived in the mountains. They couldn't get to a bank. Their life savings was in this. And now it can't be transferred, or it's not going to be able to get anywhere, and it can't do anything. Versus us as traders, so I'm going to go into the trading story maybe a little later. Us as traders, we all trade on different platforms. We all are part of different groups. And I was on a Discord group, and a very well-known one, by the way, called The Haven. And I love those guys. They've mentored me a lot. And, you know, like if you, they're just amazing. And so basically during that time, the Turkey earthquakes had hit. And when the Turkey earthquakes had hit, there were some traders that were in Turkey, lost everything. And there was one in particular that was more vocal and was like, had lost everything, family, everything, and had sent a list of things that were needed. Now, mind you, this is Turkey, Eastern, Turkey. Once again, no water, no food, no electricity, no medical care, no banks, because banks run on electricity. ATMs run on electricity, right? So we were like, okay, obviously you have a signal because you're able to message us from your phone. And he's like, yeah, I have a signal. And so all of us pulled together as much USDT and Ethereum as we could, and we sent it to him. And sent it to him. He got it instantaneously. Weeks before other people could get help, he had food, water, the list of medicine he was looking for, and had rented 2 homes, and had also for like people, that were displaced. And they were able to make it to a safer part of Turkey that was more stable and not affected by the earthquakes. Why? We were able to instantaneously send money without any infrastructure and without any institution. If I send a wire to a country that is, not, maybe the bank's not part of the SWIFT system or however you work that, it's like that money is not going to make it to them. It's going to be held, not even mentioning the total devastation of the infrastructure.
True. Plus, when you look at it that way too, it could be flagged from your bank saying this could be fraudulent or other, factors that go into play there. But then I don't know if you know too much into the detail on like how he was able to purchase it, but just that would be my question, is like how, after getting the USDT, how was he able to then buy these other things? Were other places accepting crypto at the time just because that was the only thing that was available?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of people that are willing to off-ramp in other countries in different ways. So I'm just gonna encourage your viewers to actually Google it. Google Afghanistan women and crypto. And there's actually a lot of Afghanistan women after the Taliban came in and took back over that are using crypto between themselves. And they're using crypto between, a lot of these women were in the emerging technology space. They already knew about Web3, its capabilities, anonymity with wallets, things of that nature. And they're able actually to move funds around. And hey, not financial advice, not legal advice. There are, off-ramping situations where people are able to off-ramp, and whether that's hooked up to a traditional institution or not, I'm not going to say, because we're obviously in the US, we're all hooked up to a traditional institution. We're all KYC'd. So it works different. But the beauty about it is they're actually able to have this ability to have some sort of financial stake in their lives, and that's kind of, in a very roundabout long way, why I started trading. And then because of trading, was able to become very passionate about the ability for people to avoid like certain abuses, and so I don't know if you want me to kind of go into that part of it, but basically I was just this little meek stay-at-home mom. And I when funds are limited, you're not quite sure what the future is going to look like. And what I realized is I could actually trade crypto. So financial institutions, the hours are very normie hours, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, 9:30 to 3:30, 9:34, and pre-market a little bit. If you don't have a margin account, which a lot of your viewers probably know, is that you need $25,000 in a margin account to play futures. So I'm like, okay, I can't do this, dude. I have like literally $800 to my name, and but what you can do, and this is why crypto trading should be looked at so positively and not negatively. I know a lot of people have these negative connotations towards it, right? We're gamblers, we're high leverage, we're this. We don't know what we're doing. We're scammers. We're only get paid groups. And that's not true. Like, I am the perfect example of only having a few $100s to her name, being able to use the things that the US is actually trying to take away. So what is the US trying to take away? Leverage. Leverage is so important. Like, if I was not able to trade leverage, I would not be here today. And I'm not joking. And the reason why I say that is, if you are, let's say, you know, a simple math. If you're leverage trading $100 and you do even, you know, like 10x, you know, at leverage, it's like you're given the ability to trade on it 1,000. So versus in traditional finance, I actually have to risk and lose that entire 1,000 if I'm spot trading. And in crypto, if you're spot trading too, you know. And so because of that, I'm able to trade at a higher level without actually having the higher amount. And that's how you build an account. However, not financial advice, not trading advice, not legal advice. You have to be super, super, super careful. I would not leverage trade on crypto, period, unless you have a mentor and you have somebody who is a good mentor, who's a good trader, who has actually failed a lot. You have to fail a lot in trading to be successful. And sometimes failing, you don't want failing to be your bag going to zero, but I cannot tell you how many well-known traders is, you know, your bag goes to zero. So that's number one, is leverage. Like, please don't take our leverage away. We need leverage. And that's pretty much gone in the US. But for everybody else, you know, two, the reason why I'm so passionate about people being able to not only trade crypto, but invest into crypto is because $1 to you and me might not mean a lot. $1 to somebody else, you know, you hear this growing up, right? Be grateful for what you have. $1 to somebody else means a lot. However, if you think about it, you can buy one Matic for $1. Now, whether you believe Matic's going to go up 10x, 100x, it's the ability to have hope in a process and a future that you can actually do something and increase your well-being and increase your finances at a scale that is accessible and reasonable for people who never had the ability to invest before. I can't just take $1 to Schwab and Fidelity. No offense, I love you guys, but like, you know, they'll probably sponsor your show one day. You know, like, I can't take $1 to them and be like 10x it for me, because very few places will even give you a fractional of a Tesla share. They do fractionals, but they're not going to do a fractional for $1. But I can own a whole bunch of Doge. I can own a whole bunch of SHIB. And I'm not telling anyone, please, not financial advice. I actually laugh at some of those tokens, you know, like to invest in these low market cap, low cost tokens. But it's the concept of actually invest. If you're a true, you know, coming out of the woodwork and being able to participate in a financial model, the ability to participate is so much more valuable, because if you truly care about it, you're going to learn. And so along the way, you learn these things about yourself, about investing, about money, about the transfer of money. Okay, I'd hate to admit it, but like I was super like financially illiterate before I started trading. All I knew is I wanted to make money. I could do it. I thought I could learn. I had a great group of mentors. And because of that, I was like, I'm going to give this thing a go, and I'm going to work my behind off, for lack of a better term. And I did. And it's time in the charts. It's time on the trades. And luckily for me, where it's led is that I support a lot of women founders with my trading. I support a lot of startups with my trading. I've been asked to consult hedge funds, venture capitalists. I've been asked to consult different tokenomics for different projects, Web3 projects. And, you know, just in November, and I'll give you the picture, I guess, like someday, but like in November, you know, I was honored at the NASDAQ as the first female crypto trader to participate in the closing bell. And, you know, and I was lucky for that. And the reason why is because I'm incredibly passionate about this space and this ability for people to participate, to reduce financial barriers and to increase participation in somebody's own life, you know. And so it's an exciting thing. The organization, I'll give them a plug, was We Do, and run by Wendy Diamond. And the amazing thing about that is she supports women entrepreneurs with microloans, and a lot of them are in crypto. So it's a very, very cool thing that we're seeing among like emerging technology and finances.
That's amazing. I didn't know about the NASDAQ honoring you being like that big of a crypto trader, especially a female crypto trader. That's huge. Sorry that that's not the one thing that I took away from it, but I'm just saying like I mean, it's a hell of a journey and a hell of a story. But I kind of want to dive back a little bit, if you don't mind. And
Sure.
We could talk about a few other things too that you've mentioned prior. But I want to start off the journey of like when you first discovered it and how you got into trading and where you are today. Like, how did this all come? Where did it all start from?
Yeah, you know, what's interesting
and what was
is
the first token? Sorry.
Oh my God, it was Bitcoin. So I'm a very open, honest, transparent person. So what I'll say is, at the time, I have an ex, but at the time we were together, and he was after I did this research and I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, crypto is the way to provide people with reduced financial barriers and help people conduct business without banks. And I was so excited. And then this Bitcoin, like, you know, so it was funny. It's like, I didn't really research Bitcoin. I didn't really know a lot about Bitcoin. I mean, I didn't even read Satoshi's white paper before I got excited about crypto. You know, I just kind of understood by being somebody who is, I know. I wasn't actually financially as literate, but what I understood is it had the goals of what I wanted to do in terms of being able to participate with my very small bag in my finances. And so what was interesting is my ex at the time was like, okay, we need to start investing in this thing called crypto. And I was like, funny you say that. I actually was researching it. And it was because we were living in Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico, well, 99% of people know now it's a tax haven, but we were not in crypto when we were living in Puerto Rico, which is so funny. And because of that, you know, I'm like, let me look into this Bitcoin thing. And then all of a sudden you start doing what all the normies do when you first get in. You start reading all the wrong Twitter pages. You start following all the wrong traders. You start following
Hilarious. It's true because they're the ones that are prominent and stuff. Not that it's conspiracy stuff or whatever. I mean, it could be, but like it just happens to have the bigger voice in that perspective. But yeah.
Yeah, and what I'll tell your viewers is be very careful if somebody is constantly referring their referral link. Now, there's a difference between having a referral link and actually getting, and a referral link means you click on it and you sign up on an exchange under their name. Now, don't get me wrong, all of us should have referral links. If you brought somebody into an exchange, yes, you should get paid on it. I'm not against that. But to promise people that you're an amazing trader and you can give them alpha, what we call good news, because and the only way you can do it is if you get the referral link. It's like, and you've never proven yourself as a good trader outside of that. You know, in trading, it's a little different. If you've proven yourself, then hey, no worries. Like, you're giving me good lessons, you're giving me good info. Yes, have the referral link. But if people just follow blindly, like, hey, guilty, you know, X was guilty of that too, is that we followed the wrong people. We thought this is the way, because there was very little information about crypto at the time, you know, and it was kind of this underground community and everyone knew each other. But if you were the outsider, all you wanted to do was get in. Learn how to make the money, you know. And I can see you nodding your head because you understand, you know, this like mentality. So because of that, what ended up happening is like we bought, I won't finger point because he's not here to defend himself, but the top was bought. Let's just say the Pico top was bought at huge scale. And then immediately it started going down. and panic, freak
Happens to the
out.
best of us. Yeah. I remember not the joke like how it's my first beer, but I remember when I first bought. It was like a little bit before 2017, but I remember when it was the hype before that second crash or the first kind of crash of it all. I was like, oh man, it's going, it's going. It was like peak 25 plus a 30 before it crashed. I'm like, oh my God, I put in more and more. And then it started crashing. I'm like, all right, I started selling. I didn't hodl. I wish I did. But anyway, I remember.
Well, okay. So this is where, and this is a beautiful, and I'll go kind of maybe bleed into the trading side of it, is that trading psychology and behavior, there is a science behind it. And the reason why there's a science behind it is you and I had the very same experience of buying the top and what we call like literally selling the bottom, right? Or like the support, you know, and it's like, and we didn't have diamond hands, and it's all that panic and those feelings. And and so because of that, a lot of people should be able to relate. It's on like listening to this, it's like, hey, many of us who are decently successful in this industry as consultants and in trading bought the top, sold the bottom, lost a lot of money, and then, but we believed, you know, we just had that belief. And that's where having a group of people, a community, a mentorship group, you know, that's where it's like super, super important, you know, because it keeps you in the game at a level of like, okay, I can do this because others have done this exact same psychological run. And then you have to learn from it, you know, then you start learning from it. And so that was part of the story. And so then forget about crypto, it ruined us, you know, everything like that. And then I was like, no, I think this is the way still. I loved the fact that I started looking at different traders. I never left crypto Twitter, as we call it, CT. It's X now, but we call it CT. You know, I never left, and I would always browse and kind of peruse and be like, oh man, that person made this much money and that person made this much money. And you know what I started realizing is that there were really good traders out there. There were people out there who were relying on rationale, on their intelligence. They weren't relying on hype and excitement and bouncing around in Dubai with their Bugattis. They weren't bouncing around with like at the pool with all these like paid Instagram girls, you know, and because that's the vibe crypto gave off. But I just knew, I was like, there has to be something to this trading thing. And I'm gonna name him by name because I owe him so much. But the first trader to truly reach out to me and be like, hey, if you want to learn, you got to do this and stop doing this, and was Crypto Chase. So he's on Twitter. He has like two green insignia swords, and it's Crypto Chase. And then, you know, after that, there were just, unfortunate, there were just so many other traders that if I forgot somebody's name, I'd feel bad. But he was the first. Some off the hand though is like who truly cared about my well-being as a trader. And for no money, like literally they just wanted to help me get good at this game and to succeed, you know, like shoot, like Crypto Chase, SZ, Cold Blooded Chiller, Delta, Jim Talbot, like UB, Krillin, Pierre, who's an incredible trader and human being. And yeah, it's just, I forgot maybe like 50 other people in that, you know, that I just said. And the reason why all of those people were so instrumental, I would even say Trader Main, you know, I watched a lot of his videos, is that it's one crypto cred. If you're learning trading, go see his videos. You know, it's one of those things where these people knew that I was living through this experience of just wanting to make it. And my purpose in trading wasn't just to make a whole bunch of money. It was to take control of my life and to have some sort of autonomy and freedom. And because of that, they were like, you're in it for the long haul. You're not just here today, gone tomorrow. And they gave me their time freely. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. And because of that, I was able to build up enough of a bag where I could pretty much trade full time and consult in Web3 full time. And my passion and goal now is because of this ability that I think if you're a trader and you've been given a gift, you have, and I don't say I have a gift. I don't. I learned. I worked hard, and I'm not even a fraction of profitable as a lot of people out there, but I make enough, right? And so one of the things I'll say is I'm very passionate about people learning for themselves, because they can avoid things by using crypto, learning a skill and doing it in a way where they can avoid certain like financial abuses, like is one of them. If you look at the way blockchain technology is built, it's built to avoid financial abuse. And so there's actually a, and I know this like kind of bleeds into that, but it's like, so I've been given this ability to learn and actually manage certain things. I've been asked to manage treasuries before. I won't do it because I'm NFA. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. But what I can do is I can help arrange different technologies to make sure that there's safety in that. And one of the projects is so whether or not you believe people should go to prison or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that when a lot of people go to prison, there's a lot of financial abuse, especially for women, because it's like, okay, you need to provide for your kids while you're serving your time. You need to pay the electric bill. You need to pay the car payment. You need to do this. Okay, and these people don't even have that because they probably spent everything on legal fees. But the reason why there's so much financial abuse is by the time they get out of prison, everyone else has drained them. And you can't access your information online because there's all these security, right? You need to 2FA, the bank texts your phone to verify it's you. You don't have that in prison, okay? So it's, I'm not laughing that you're in prison, but I'm just saying, like, all these normal things that we are so used to, that doesn't exist for somebody that, hey, they may have made a terrible, they might have done something that they shouldn't have done and they went to this thing, but it doesn't mean their finances should be totally taken away because maybe there's an ability for them when they get out. And so what I've been asked to look at, and what led me down this whole, like, hey, we can prevent things like financial abuse, is how can we preserve the finances when somebody is gone for a certain period of time, or allow somebody to build up the finances, right? Because if you look at domestic violence situations, that is also kind of like a prison. There are so many women who aren't willing to, and men who cannot leave a situation because of finances. And so the whole idea behind it is like, okay, we can prevent those things by using blockchain technology. How? Web3 wallets are totally discoverable online. Like, you want to see where the money's going, you have the wallet address. You want to see where your money's going, you have the wallet address. The other beautiful thing, it's totally anonymous. Like, you don't have to tell anybody that you have this wallet. You don't have to tell anybody that you are making this kind of money. Now, it's a little different. I'm just going to go into maybe my like ugly personal situation, is that yes, crypto is property of the United States. Like, I have gone through, like I am going through actually a kind of a legal situation, a divorce. And so I've had to disclose everything I have, including every single, wallet I have. But the beauty about it is that it can be tracked too, right? Like, I mean, there's no wrongdoing, and there's a story behind that the court has found there's no wrongdoing. But what happens is that you're able to see all the transactions and where there's moving. It was funny because there's been situations where people have been asked to produce bank statements and they're trying to hide something and they're not being able to be produced. And so because of that, it's like, for me, okay, show me on your phone. I'm like, okay, I show them on your phone. Okay, how can we prove this? I'm like, okay, type this wallet address into your computer then, Your Honor. It's right there. It's verifiable. It's trustless. There's no way I could have manipulated it. Right. And so the same goes for somebody who might be in a certain kind of situation, like the women, women prisoner example, or the domestic abuse example, is that they can use those tools of anonymity and tracking to kind of create a way to have a certain veil of financial protection. Now, I don't say brick wall of financial protection, because obviously, you know, as rules are being legislated in the United States, those are getting less and less and less. But you can have some sort of veil of protection against your finances. Bank drains are a huge thing. So in both of those examples, if you have a joint cosigner on your bank account that you trusted, they can just go in and take all your money. Well, if it's on cold storage, they can't take your money. If it's on, you know, it goes into cold storage and then it just sits there. It's like, okay, I have this for a rainy day. They can't take it. They can't drain it. They don't have the keys. And so I just am so like, and if somebody's like truly in a situation where they're like, we don't trust either, you know, the person who has it, like, let's say you're saving the money for a child, right? Like, but both parents are like fighting like cats and dogs. They're not in agreement. And one parent is more to drain and one parent's more to save. And there's all these stuff like that. Okay. Put it into a multi-signature wallet. You both have to sign in order for the funds to be released.
Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Oh yeah, multi-sigs are the way to stop abuse. Like, because like, let's say the person like is serving their time, whether it be 2 months in county or whatever. I don't know that, you know,
Right. And no, it does have access. Okay.
That can just look up a wallet address on Google. You're allowed to use Google. You know, it's just a whole bunch of numbers and letters on Google, you know, so it's not just that, it's on the blockchain, but you know what I mean? Like if you know, you just put it in the search bar. So it's like, if you put it in there, you're able to see what you have. But let's say we even use a multi-signature wallet where it's you and somebody else and another party. So 2 out of 3 have to agree to release those funds. You can prove to anyone legally that it wasn't you who actually released those funds. Not only can you prove it wasn't you, you can prove that you actually were trying to do right by the system and save that money and use that money, you know, like appropriately, you know. And so it's interesting because these things are built for a reason. And the reason why I know about multi-sigs is because of being asked for tokenomics and treasury management. So it's an incredible thing that, you know, we're underutilizing in trying to fix these broader, more general societal problems, you know, like things like financial abuse, you know. And so it's just, as you can see, it's a passion of mine. We talked like so much about it.
No, I appreciate that. And that opens a whole new perspective on just how, like, when you're married with someone or just in a commitment with someone, just how something like that could be trapping traditionally on a Web 2 sense, if you would, versus a Web 3 where it gives you that more power of freedom. I never even thought of that. Probably most of the people that are watching us right now haven't even thought of that type of situation, if you would. So that's really interesting, that kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, well, and I guess this will lead to like the issue of like you just mentioned, a lot of your audience might not know about it. And it's like, okay, well, my joke on Twitter was like, hey, here come the normies because of the ETF. So a lot of your audience is going to have to learn, you know, about some of these things and capabilities, because we're all crypto now. I mean, we're not really all crypto, but like, you know, technically we're on Bloomberg now. We're, you know, we're on, you know, the headlines of the Wall Street Journal. You know, people know, you know, what Bitcoin is now, like all over the world because of, you know, basically the ETF. The ETF was such a huge thing. And, you know, I don't know what your thoughts on the ETF are.
I think it's great for having traditional investors being able to have exposure into crypto without actually having to own it, to having a wallet, either hot or cold, whatever you have it. So I think it's really great to have some sort of exposure to have investors into it without having to be like fully invested into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so funny because when you just said that, when you were like, where they don't have to have wallets, and I'm like, oh, don't take my wallet away. It's just like it shows the huge divide on the spectrum of investing in crypto, right? I'm like, no, don't take, like, I want my wallet, and you're like, wow, yeah, like, because if you lose your wallet keys and you're a normie person, it's gone forever.
Yeah, not your keys, not your wallet.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
like, yeah, but yeah.
Totally. So I think what's interesting is, I think as a trader, it's good and it's bad. And the reason why it's good and it's bad is because ETF are traditional financial models that, yes, when they launch, there is a huge inflow of volume, right? Because every time somebody buys shares, that ETF actually has to go out and buy spot Bitcoin and hold it. And so that's what a spot Bitcoin ETF is. I didn't know if your audience knew that, but like they buy the shares and then like the ETF itself has to go out and buy the Bitcoin. And so, everyone's like, oh my, but so if you think about it, we were already trading like mid 48 when the ETF news the actual approval came out. Now the build up to it, yes, we went from like 29 to 48, thousand. But the actual, hey, we launched, it's like, I think on some exchanges, on futures, we went 49,998. Like, I'm not quite sure we broke 50, but everyone thought it's like, not everyone, a lot of traders thought like, oh, it's going to like moon us and we're going to just go crazy and it's 100,000.
I wish. But the arguments sometimes have been like, it's already been priced in since those court cases with the SEC from a little over a year ago, I would say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just hard to kind of say like, when did it actually influence? I think if you ask me personally, I think some of it did influence when it got approval on the trading day. I think like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, almost a month ago or so. Like now, to where people were talking about like, oh, it's been going through the talks through the SEC. I think the argument's more of like when it got first introduced to the SEC, it got kind of priced in, and then more towards the approval time as well. I think just both times, and everything in between is just all speculation. That's from what I think.
Well, it's interesting is there's a lot of theories because a lot of things that happen in crypto aren't necessarily technically what we would consider like monitored. And so, for example, like the whole SEC snafu of releasing the ETF news the day before it actually happened, and price literally skyrocketed. And then it said, oops, it's fake news. And then we entirely retraced. What happens in those kinds of huge moves is that people have leveraged positions. So it means you have a leveraged position that if you're in a short, like I talk a lot about shorts because I actually am traditionally a short seller that scalps. So if you're in a short, you have a top price that you cannot go above, or the entire trade value is taken away. It's liquidated. That's what liquidation means. So my risk of that 100, plus the leverage of margin, and there's a calculation there, I'm not going to go into it, is that all of that sits in this trade, right? And I'm expecting it to go down. So whatever it goes down, I'm making money, and that's short selling. But if it goes up to a certain price and it goes above my liquidation, which is why we call setting stops, and stop means you don't actually go to liquidation, you go to a certain risk that you're willing to lose. And then when it hits the risk, it's called being stopped out. So, and yes, you still lose that portion of the trade, but you lose a much smaller portion of it. Versus liquidations, the top, you lose the entire amount that you risked and more. So you lose the margin that was risked. So because of that, all the people who were expecting kind of maybe a sell-off to the news on the ETF, boom, all of us instantly liquidated. And I say all of us because I had a very small trade on. So yeah, I was liquidated because you can't control news like that. You can't control moves on news like that if you're not like pretty much an AI or a bot. Like you can try to what we call knife catching, which is if there's like a huge event. Like I did trade FTX and I did well. Sorry, I short sell. That's what I do. So it's, you know, so it was like a, and I'm just like short this, short Solana, short Bitcoin, short Ethereum, you know, and I was just throwing shorts. Well, I was doing it while it was happening. So that's called knife catching. And so when you knife catch, it's very, very risky. And so, but you can also do pretty well. And a lot of that's news-based. And I never suggest people there's news-based traders. I'm not one of those. I try to use price action, liquidity, technical analysis. So that's different. But the reason why that event was the day before the ETF is that it had already caused this incredible amount of volatility and people being liquidated. And because of that, there wasn't that much left in the system for the real announcement. So everyone was trading on false news. And a lot of people got liquidated on the retrace because everyone thought this was the real thing. So longs start piling in. And when you're long, you have a certain level where if it goes below the price that you want, that whole entire trade is taken. And so because of that whole trade being taken, if you look at the chart on the day the fake news came out, it was, whoo, all the shorts got liquidated, all the longs got liquidated. And so it was like, and when you're a trader, you kind of don't ever risk what you're not willing to lose 100%. So for us, some of us we were laughing. Like if you go to crypto Twitter, there were people laughing about losing like $250,000, well, their size is way, way more, you know, than mine, but you never risk what you're willing to lose. And it was almost comical because we're like, wow, I wonder what normies think of us now. Because you're not going to see that in stocks. You might see a huge trajectory up because of a launch of an IPO, right? But you're not going to see a full retrace on value, you know, for shares. And so we were like, okay, we'll see how this plays out. Now play out the ETF. It launches. Yeah, it does have great news. It does have great volatility. Okay, it launched. Bitcoin was at $49,000. Just 2 days ago, we were at 39.98. Okay, $10,000 retrace. Where you're an ETF buyer, you're buying it and you're just holding it and you're just hoping it goes up.
That's why I say hodl, but yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're like, you know, there's a double-edged sword. It's like, oh, thank goodness they didn't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, right? Like you said, more people can participate, right? More people can participate. But because everyone believes crypto will make them rich at the same time, these people who bought their one share of, you know, the BlackRock ETF or the 5 share or whatever, you know, of the different ETFs out there, they're watching the price go from 49 to 39. It's like, you know, it's kind of like, welcome to crypto.
Exactly. Because I mean, like many people are probably just discovering this more, like crypto is not easy. But it's not hard at the same time too, but it's definitely different than traditional norms where we see high numbers, high volatility. It can happen any time of the spectrum. But just as we teach young viewers or young people at the time, you know, you invest now, wait till your money grows. There's always up and downs of markets, economies, anything that happens in life. But, you know, you keep pursuing, keep going into it, it could prevail. But you never know. Some projects always fail too. But we're not talking about this in this sense. Bitcoin, I feel like it's always going to be there. It's the gold standard into digital cryptocurrency. But that's just one thing that people just need to find themselves to where they need to be comfortable with that volatility. And especially just as you just said, as soon as it launched, I mean, it was around that 49.50, a little bit over. So, and then right now it's like 38 or even a little low. or even back at 49. I forget right now. But like I said, it just fluctuates so much. So you just have to be patient into the whole process. And
Yeah.
it's something that you're not going to like day trade on, especially ETFs. I mean, I guess you could day trade an ETF, but at the same time too, it's almost like you're telling an older person to play shuffleboard really fast. It's a process. You're going to have to take some time. It's nothing you're going to have to flip on a light switch right away.
It's a traditional financial product, and that goes into the double-edged sword, right? We're like, we have all this amazing volatility that we can trade on because traders thrive on volatility. You know, there's some excellent crypto options traders out there that I follow. Like one is at Thinking Vols. His name's Marty, famous in the industry for that. And one of them is also, his name's Chang at for Addybug. Like, and so they're both like incredible options traders, and you need incredible amount of volatility. And I also do equities options, but you know, it's just a different way. And the reason why I bring that up is that when you look at how long traditional finance is going to take to reduce volatility in the crypto market, for us traders, it's almost like we don't know. You know, there's a really, actually, I did forget this name, Loma, who he has done so much for me as a trader, both personally and on the charts, is, you know, he did pose this question of, you know, if we have the normies involved, for how long, where will the volatility go? Will it stay still, or will it kind of bleed out and die? Because the more you have traditional players, the more they're longer term investor views. They're not in any asset that's traded, you have short term or low time frame or scalpers, but you also don't, you know, crypto was never in an IRA. Crypto was never in an ETF. Crypto was never in a traditional, more slower moving product for the purpose of people putting it into a retirement plan. You know, and those plans are like 5, 10, 20-year outlooks, 25-year outlooks. So as a long-term hold, do I think, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the majors, what we call the majors, do I think they have a way? Absolutely. I think they have a way. And I think it's exciting if you're somebody in the industry, you know, as a straight up degenerate gambler trader, I don't know how many cycles we have left to be able to make life-changing wealth. You know, and that's just going to be honest, because you need incredible amount of volatility, you need high leverage, and you need access to those products. And every tradable product I like is not accessible in the United States. That's fine. I make do with what I have. But because of that, it's just a very you know, interesting kind of situation because of that. And it's disappointing.
It's hard, and it can be, but it's really interesting when you bring it to that perspective of just like of what the ETF can be, especially what Bitcoin first created to be. It wasn't meant to be an ETF, but now it is. It's cool where it's being transformed in ways that haven't been used before. So I love like how it's ever evolving into different use case scenarios. But at the same time, I see where you're coming from too, where it wasn't initially meant for this, but it's more of an experiment that I think right now that we'll just have to see.
Yeah, you know, I'll just say one last thing real quick.
Sure, yeah.
Is think about it this way. Regardless of if you trade or not, if you are Web3 and you are crypto, you have to philosophically kind of look at it like this. There is an industry and a financial asset that made some of the biggest trillionaire, multi-billionaire funds chase. It chased crypto. It chased, I don't want to say us as like a collective, but it kind of chased what we believed in. Now, it made the Titans bend, right? To seek us out. However, now where does it go? Do the Titans take over? And does it go their way? And they mold it the way they want to mold it, and they shape it, they want to shape it, and they create it as financial products they want to create? or do us as crypto and Web3, do we continue to make them bend our way? And this is the first experiment. And this is truly, we're at the fork.
Yeah.
And it is an incredibly exciting time, an incredibly scary time, depending on how you look at it. And I'm glad I trade, because I'm just here for the volatility. It's like, no, I'm just here for it. But
Right.
it's either way, the technology is never going away in terms of blockchain and Web3. You're going to see better use cases for it. You're going to see more industries adopt it, just based on what it represents. But on the financial side, on this pure currency side, store of value side, it's like, I think we're going to see some interesting things. We're going to see some interesting battles. We're going to see some interesting philosophical discussions. I mean, it's really going to be kind of the new frontier. The ETF is the first of a crypto ETF. It's the new frontier.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Cryptomommi, for your time. I really appreciate sharing your knowledge, especially talk about the ETFs, financial freedom, and your whole journey into the whole space. It's really interesting, just like where you started and where you are now. I think that's very inspirational to everyone that's watching this, and even to me too. Now I feel like now I can elevate myself to a whole another level. Maybe not to a whole trader level, but maybe to the whole more industry level.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it. But I mentioned earlier, we can follow you on X. Where else can we find you?
So on X, I'm at CryptoMomLife. On Instagram, I'm Cryptomommi with an I, CryptoMommi. And those are my two socials right now. I don't really do YouTube or TikTok. I've been told I should, but it's just like 4 kids, 4, count them.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so those are the 2 socials. I'm going to get more active on them. And, the moniker, everyone calls me mommy in the industry. And then I also have like a hot pink shirt. I'm wearing green today, but I usually wear like mommy hot pink or whatever. So that's that. Thank you so much, Damien. I really appreciate the time.
Cool. I'll put all your information in the description. Be sure to check it out, everyone. And be sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe for more. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.